Audubon 2456.
File corrupted. Beginning recovery process.
State of the Save is back with another wonderful File Corrupted episode. Hoping everybody's having a good week or whenever you're listening to this. We didn't get to do a File Corrupted last time. We had some stuff come up and that kind of bummed me out because I love doing these episodes. Michael, how you feel about doing these File Corrupted episodes?
I love these File Corrupted episodes. It's a chance for us to... I don't have to worry so much about structure or if I get my points across eloquently, because this is a chance for just to go off the rails.
There's no analyzing of anything on these File Corrupted episodes. It's just a little bit of anarchy here and there and just see what happens.
There's a rough outline, but halfway through we crumble the outline and just go and do our own thing.
Yes.
Or talk about card games for an hour.
We're still planning on doing that card game episode. Next time Nick is available, I feel like all three of us would do the card game episode. I don't know how that's going to go. If you did not have an opportunity to listen to that File Corrupted, I believe it's the last one on the feed. I think it's called Shame,
Laughs and Card Games.
Shames, Laughs, and Card Games or something like that. Yeah, it's a very good, it's one of our best File Corrupted episodes.
One of our best shows, I would say.
Yeah, definitely
Maybe.
top 5.
Depending on if you like structure, that one's not for you.
If you like all the shows where we get real in-depth and talk about like how the games work and we really analyze things, that's not the show for you. That's not that. But if you just like, hey, I like when things go crazy and they keep making dumb references to stupid stuff, that's that show for you.
That's why I love doing this podcast, because we can have an episode like a Bastion where we can talk seriously and analytical about like political ramifications of video games for an hour, or we can be like, yo, this orc class seems pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of video games, right?
Yeah.
Like video games can be a lot of different things, and if you're only sectioning it off one part of video games, then you're kind of missing the full experience, you know? Like movies, there's Oscar movies and there's summer blockbusters. File Corrupted is definitely more of a Fast and the Furious kind of show than the Queen's Gambit, which is a TV show.
That's a TV.
I don't even know. Hey, listen, man, it's all the
Premium
same.
TV.
Premium TV is just movies, man. But we got a good show for you planned today. We're going to be talking console generations. Just a random thing that popped into our head.
Our collective head.
Yeah, our collective head. We were like, hey, what's the excuse to do a good File Corrupted show? And we're going to do our favorite console generation. We're going to be picking which one, and we're going to defend our choices. Michael thought he had me pegged. He was wrong. Because you can never know where I'm going to go.
Wild card.
Wild card. There's just a tank of gasoline in the back of my truck, apparently.
Even if he was thinking the same one I was, he was like, no, screw that, I'm good.
Yeah, I would have. Like, if there was 4 people on this show that all picked all my options, I'm still going to jump to a different one just to keep things interesting. But before that, we're going to do our normal thing. Let's talk about some games we've been playing.
All right.
I've been playing a lot of video games, Michael. Have you been playing a lot of video games?
I have been playing a lot of one type of video game.
Okay. I have a feeling I know what's coming. I have a feeling the listeners are going to know, too. What have you been playing?
Resident Evil.
That sale really got you.
It really did, and now I am hooked into this series. I want to know all the lore. I want to know everything about this. So I'm trying to play it in a way that makes sense, like pseudo-release order, because it's weird when you got remakes in there. So I finished 2, Claire's campaign. I was expecting, like, no spoilers here, but I was expecting, like, when you finish her campaign on the second run, the ending section would be, like, a little bit longer than just, like, that, like, 10-minute run near the end.
It's basically a boss fight that you get. Like,
Yeah.
you don't get much else.
I mean, it was still cool. Like,
Yeah.
that game is still amazing.
I would say, like, the breakdown of difference in content between Claire and Leon's campaign is, like, maybe 25%.
That sounds about right. It's just enough to... The main difference doesn't come in, like, the structure of it. It comes in, like, the Claire's, like, character she interacts with and the changes in enemy variety.
Yeah, Claire's got a kind of a different driving force throughout her campaign than Leon does. I do defend the statement that Leon should be like A and Claire should be B.
Yeah.
Because I think Leon's driving force is the main focus of the game, while Claire is more of a personal story. But it also works better for Claire to be the one who faces that final section.
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, all in all, it's a
Leon's he's a good insert for the player because he's just trying to get to his job on the first day when everything goes bad. So he doesn't really know what's going on. Claire has actual ties to the overall story because she is related to Chris Redfield, and she'll be a bigger part in the games coming forward. Then I played and beat Resident Evil 3 in about 3 sittings. That is a brilliantly paced game, but boy, I would be mad if I paid $60 for it.
It is. I paid $60 for it. It is very, very short. I admit that. Mm-hmm. But I will say this:
it's fun.
It's a tight game, man. It doesn't. It has no fill.
There's no wasted moment.
Yeah, there's no wasted time, and I kind of actually like the way they do the quote-unquote A-B stuff in there where you play as a different character because it's just integrated into your main story. Or, it's not, there is no, B campaign. You just switch perspectives. Mm-hmm. But I do enjoy that game a lot. I don't think it's as good as Resident Evil 2 Remake.
Oh, no.
But it's damn fine video game. I agree they probably should have padded it a little bit more.
Maybe, or maybe it cut the price to $40 lunch. I mean, I got it for $20, so I'm not mad at all. It was a very tight video game. Jill might be my favorite Resident Evil protagonist now.
She's great in that. They do a great job in that remake of her being... Even the opening sequence.
So good.
Which I think... if I'm correct, is the only time other than 7 and 8 that I've ever seen a Resident Evil game in first person.
And it made me go, I kind of wish there was a first person mode for this whole game.
It's a good little opening sequence. Jill also, it feels really good. And if you've played the original RE3 was also kind of short and thrown together because it was kind of a stopgap game, They didn't want to, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it was not originally going to be the next numbered sequel, but there was some concerns about putting a numbered sequel only on the Dreamcast.
There was a weird, that's what it was. Sony, I think, raised a stink about it, going, you can't have it, we are Resident Evil, you can't have it on another place. I haven't looked into it, and it's a little bit muddied on when did Nemesis become Resident Evil 3 and when did Code Veronica not become Resident Evil 3, because that leads me to my next game I'm playing. Segue. I was debating, I was like, what's next? I could play 0 because that's before 1, so I feel like that'll tie up some stuff before, but I was like, no, Code Veronica came out before. So I I pressed play on my PlayStation 5 for Code Veronica and got the PlayStation 2 logo, which made me go, this feels nice and warm and cozy. And then you start playing it and go, oh no, there's tank controls. Oh no. The last game I played with tank controls was a Dino Crisis 2, which became an action game a lot faster than Resident Evil ever did. Because Dino Crisis 1 was a Resident Evil, and then they were like, let's just take a mercenaries mode and turn it into a full campaign.
Because 2 is Dino Crisis 2 is almost a straight up action game.
It is 100%.
It's
there's a combo system with that game in terms of you can use your shotgun and take out dinosaurs and get combo meters going.
Yeah.
So
I mean
that's a great video game.
There's been some talk online about would it be cool if they did a Dino Crisis remake?
I'm one of those people. Absolutely.
I could see that. The tank control stuff, it's why I would never advocate for somebody if you're hey, I want to play Resident Evil 2 and 3. I would never tell you to go back and play the originals now that the remakes are out, because the tank controls they add that one layer of frustration to what is actually still a very good game.
It took me about an hour, but then once I got past it, I was just this is just how it controls, because there's nothing fundamentally, it's not asking you at least this point early on to do too much with movement. It's all very much they're coming at you slowly, and you can kind of bob and weave around them if you need to. But ultimately, yeah, it's people who say that Resident Evil went off the rails with Resident Evil 4 did not play Code Veronica, because man, there's some stuff in that game,
dude. Like I've said this before. They did not play Resident Evil. Like those weird stuff in those alligators and sewers and stuff all over freaking Resident Evil. It has always been off the rails. Like
it was never on a track at all.
There was never a track. Like I think the quality of the track of the train maybe changes a little bit around like 5 and 6. And maybe it's Code Veronica. I don't remember much of.
It's a trip. Steve Burnside is the worst Resident Evil character. That dude sucks.
Is he worse than Wesker?
Yes.
That's hard to believe.
There's a bit where you have to do a puzzle where you have to get golden guns off a wall to go and put in the place of other guns, right? So you're like, it does a Resident Evil thing. You pull it off the wall, then you get a trap and go, oh, I need to find a way around this. About like 30 minutes later, you go back to the palace, and there's like an alarm going off. I heard that alarm before. You go there, and he trapped himself in the room that you were in. It's like, get me out of here, Claire! And then he walks out with those guns, poses with them, and goes, no, I'm not going to give these to you. I'll trade you for something automatic. And just walks off with the guns. And you're like, this dude sucks.
For a second, I was like, wait a second. You too trapped yourself in there for a little bit.
But you had the sense to put the guns back.
But then also when he walks out and he just doesn't give you the guns, that's the point where I was like, yeah, that guy sucks. He's an asshole. Does he pop up in anything else? I'm trying to think if he's popped up in any other games.
I haven't. Well, the furthest I played is 7. I did not play 5 or 6, and I haven't played 4 in a bit.
6 is a fever dream for me. I know he's not in 5. So, like,
it wouldn't surprise me if he's in 6, because 6 seems like... I'm probably going to make someone mad by saying this as, like, a newcomer to, like, the Resident Evil, like, fandom. But 6 seems like the Metal Gear Solid 4 for Resident Evil in terms of, like, we're going to tie up everything and bring everything together.
But Metal Gear Solid 4 is a good game.
I know Metal Gear Solid 4 is a great video game, quote-unquote, because...
4 is actually... Yeah. I would say 4 is worth your time. I would say 6 is not. I'm
building there. That's going to be the last one I get to, because Jesus. I'm like, I got to see how all of these character arcs collide together for a grand finale. Who knows? I might, with the expectation that it's going to be trash, I might have a fun time with it.
I don't think you will, but I sure hope you have a great time getting there. I am interested in hearing more about Code Veronica when you get done with it. I am that one's just lost to time in my head.
A part of me is like, maybe that's the one we play for the show, just because it's the one people don't really... The people who love Code Veronica love Code Veronica.
I could see us playing Code Veronica. We also have to eventually bite the bullet and play 4.
I'm like, let's do it right now. Let's go.
I will say this. 4 is... Every time I go back to 4, I am reminded that 4 controls the way it does. Because in my head, 4 controls super smooth. And then I pop it in and I play it for like my yearly playthrough of 4. And I'm like, oh wait, there is still some tank controls to this. There's still a little bit of Leon can't shoot and move at the same time. There's still a little bit of chunkiness here. He can't kick when you want him to. He has to get a trigger to do it.
Yeah.
Like, in my head, 4 doesn't run like that. But every time I play it again, I'm like, oh, wait, duh. Yeah, it's like this.
The first hour, you're like, is this... Every time you go back to 4, it's like the first hour, you're like, is this not as good as I remembered? Then you get past the jank, you get past the village section, and go, oh yeah, this is one of the best games ever made.
Well, I think you get accustomed to it.
Yeah.
You get accustomed to how you have to move in 4, and you move in 4 a different way than you ever do any other way in any other game.
There's a mod that took out the camera controls and made it like the fixed camera perspectives of the original Resident Evils, and you'd be surprised how much of that like gameplay philosophy is still there. Like, you can do it.
Huh.
Like,
That's
it doesn't fundamentally break the game. So it's like not a lot has changed as you think going from the older games to 4.
It makes sense.
They just put the camera behind his back and was like, all right, we did it.
It makes sense because in 4, you still shoot and move in a very classic 2-3 style, or last time it would have been Code Veronica. So yeah, I mean, I could see that. I would actually be interested in playing that game like that. I wouldn't probably play through the whole thing like that.
Just the village and go, this is cool.
Yeah, like the village is so ingrained in my head. I think I have that entire sequence all the way up to Leon getting captured memorized in my head just because I've played through it so many times. And then then we get to other cool stuff later on. But yeah, I mean, yeah. We're going to play probably 4 or Code Veronica. I could see those two being the next Resident Evil games we play. Anything else you've been playing?
Went a little bit back to Final Fantasy VII Remake, so working my way through. That's still a great video game.
Which I think that's another game like Persona. Where like when you're done, we'll sit down. We'll have a final.
I talked about ad nauseum. I'll wait till the end before I go into detail about what I played and what I think is next for the 7 saga.
I played a bunch of stuff. I played a bunch of.
It's like you got a new console or something.
Yeah, I am not a FIFA guy. I've not played
a
soccer game.
I saw that and was like, "Is Eric okay?"
Well, I was
should
like,
I
man,
message him?
This is a good looking game. Let's try out this new console.
Should I call his bank and say, "Don't let this man buy some Ultimate Team"?
Yeah, there's somewhere some kid's got my account and he's buying Ultimate Teams. Boy, that stuff is like so jammed down your throat, it's not even funny. But they do that also for the NHL franchise, too.
That's how they're funding the Dead Space remake. Those Ultimate Team packs.
Which apparently the most profitable thing about their entire company is the FIFA stuff.
If you wonder why every press conference was like, why is there 15 minutes of FIFA? It's their... You wouldn't have EA if it wasn't for FIFA Ultimate Team.
I don't play any sports games every year except the NHL franchise. And even then, I'm kind of falling off of doing that. Because, with EA Sports franchises, they're so small upgrades every year that it's very, very hard to justify a $60 price tag.
I buy one every console generation.
You probably...
I go, what's the good one? And then...
I think this is what has happened here for me. Because, a lot of people complained about the new release of FIFA because they were like, it's just, small upgrades, yada, 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 yada. I haven't played one of these games since probably the PlayStation 2. And so for me, I was like, a pretty solid freaking sports game, man. It's pretty good. It damn looks good. It plays well. And also, my knowledge of soccer is so baseline that it's it's a lot of me not being entirely sure what's happening. But I'm having a good time with it. But some more interesting stuff I played through. I finally started Hollow Knight, which is a game that I'm amazed I didn't play earlier.
I've been putting it off for so long.
It's a damn good video game.
I know it is, but...
It's a damn good video game. I knew it was like an action platformer, but I did not know a ton about it until I just randomly started it up. And a couple of little bullet points. Some of the best music I've heard in a very long time in a video game. Super relaxing, kind of chill. It's got a great atmosphere. I like that it's the exploration in this game so far has been pretty easy to wrap your head around. I feel like you know what you're going into. You kind of pick up the vibe pretty quick.
How's the map? Because in a Metroidvania, you need a good map.
It's okay.
Okay.
I've not had to use it a lot because I'm still fairly early on. I've only beaten, I think, the second quote-unquote boss.
Okay.
I've been able to kind of navigate my area without having to get super into it. But they do have a good marking system where you can mark areas with little pins. Kind of like Zelda did. Not as well, but kind of the same way where you can buy pins that you can mark. This is where, this elevator is or whatever,
Yeah.
It's a very good game. I'm going to probably talk about that a lot when I get farther along in it. Then I started playing one of the few Xbox Series X exclusives for now, the Medium, which is a
Blooper Team joint.
Yeah, and it's okay. It's not bad. It's not the trailers and stuff put that thing more as maybe a like a third-person adventure game or something, or like an action adventure game. It's straight up like a almost a Telltale style adventure game so far, where you walk around environments, interacting with stuff, finding keys to doors, and finding things to change puzzles. The mechanic of having your character be in two different realities at the same time is cool, where the screen splits and your character is in like Hell Ward and All Ward, and you can see them both at the same time. So she'll be like talking to someone in Hell Ward while she's like interacting the scene also in All Ward. It's cool. It's very like Eastern European style game so far. I think it's set in like Poland.
Okay.
But it's good. It's surprisingly good for a game that I felt came and went very quickly. Like, I don't know if it was because it was on new console and it was before there was not a ton of people who get their hands on the new consoles right when it came out.
It was the first like console exclusive for Xbox, I think, for the Series X. So, and the fact that like didn't like set the world on fire, people were just like, oh, look at this. Oh, okay. We'll just go over here and go do something else now.
It's a fine looking game. I would say that it's not like a game like I would show you like the new Xbox with. And that might be why it kind of got bypassed pretty quickly. But I like it so far.
Okay.
It's not bad. I feel like I'm probably going to finish it. And
it seems like a pitch for, hey, we should make a Silent Hill. Someone should do Silent Hill, guys. Wait, and it seems like the rumors are that team is getting eyed by Konami to do the next Silent Hill.
So far,
that's the rumor right now. But.
So far, it does a pretty good job with that. I mean, I have not encountered any like combat or anything in this game, and to be honest with you, so far I don't really want any combat.
Because if it throws it at you at that point, you'll be like, I don't know what to do. X.
Well, also like if it doesn't fit the character or the ward so far, like this character doesn't strike me as somebody who's going to be punching demons and stuff. Like, it seems more of like just a psychological thriller,
Okay.
It's pretty good so far. I'm kind of amazed that I am enjoying it as much as I am for what it is. And then also I got on my little boomer shooter craze for a little bit. I went back to Doom 64, which is, in my arguable opinion, the true Doom 3. Because the shocking thing about Doom 64 is it's not like a just console port of Doom. It's a straight up different game.
Well, that's why it didn't do well. Everybody just thought it's just Doom on the Nintendo 64. It was going to be called Doom Absolution.
Yes.
Before like the studio was like, you can't. You're putting on the 360. You're putting on the Nintendo 64. You can't do that. You need to have 64 in the title. How else will it sell?
And to be honest with you, I think for years I just thought it was a Doom port. And I think you told me that it's a completely different game. And then it was like a pre-order bonus for Eternal. And it's a straight up really good Doom game. It also does a lot of stuff like with the tech that's not available, to like the original Doom 1 and Doom 2. I kind of did some research on why it didn't take off as well. Also, I believe Turok came out like 2 weeks before this. Also,
and that was a fully 3D game.
Exactly.
And this was kind of like even though the sprite detail in Doom 64 is beautiful and very well done, and not arguably, it definitely holds up better than Turok.
Oh hell yeah!
Looking at it, because you're like, oh, this looks like Doom and plays like Doom. If you look at Turok now, you go, ugh.
Yeah.
There's so much fog. I can't see 3 feet in front of me.
Turok does not hold up at all. I would say Doom 64 is still a really good looking game. And I would also say some of the maps in Doom 64 are better than anything in Doom 1 or Doom 2.
Oh, they're very well designed.
There's also some really, really clever stuff with like how some of the enemy placements are. There's some really good lighting effects. There's one room I remember that I walk into that it's like a blacked out room with only like blue squares that lead you throughout the space. And so when you're shooting, it lights the room up. But obviously, it's like you're following those squares. There's a part in which you trigger like a crushing machine that breaks the floor of the level to get you deeper into the level. There's a ton of great stuff.
There's levels that like shift throughout as you're playing them. They're like changing.
Yeah, there's
environments around. It's crazy.
It's insane that game did not get more kind of recognition.
If Midway, who made the port, made Doom 64, wanted to make it sell well. They should have just called it Doom 3 exclusive to Nintendo 64. That would have made a lot of people angry, but you would have made all the money in the world.
I think having just not Doom 64 would have probably done well too, because then it's not like it's like I said, I just always assumed it was just a port.
I didn't know until there was a video on YouTube like years ago that was like Doom 64 is an underrated game. I was like, that Doom port, that I watched it and go, oh, this is a completely original thing. That's really cool.
It's like I said, it's really good.
Then I found it at a con a few years ago on the Nintendo 64. Got it for $25. I bet it's a lot more expensive now.
I'm about to say now that's probably at least a triple-digit game.
I actually don't know, because it's not how we saw after now because of the ports that they did.
But man,
now
the collecting market's so insane right now. Who knows?
Worst.
But then like that led me down the rabbit hole where I played through some Duke Nukem. I contemplated playing some Duke Nukem Forever just to know like how that feels in 2021. I'm looking.
You have that game on a shelf.
I have it on a shelf right over there. But I played some Duke 3D.
That would be.
I went back to Project Warlock, which is a good boomer shooter. You know, it's a modern day boomer shooter, but very.
That's on my wish list.
Very
you
good.
Told me about it.
Everybody should
I
play
like the look of this. There's a Terminator level.
Everybody should play Project Warlock. They got a Kickstarter going for Project Warlock 2.
Okay.
So I'm probably going to end up supporting that Kickstarter because I want that game. That's a damn good game. Other than that, though, been kind of just fiddling around with a lot of different stuff. You want to talk about our topic for today?
Let's get to the topic.
All right. So we had a pitch. We're going to talk about our favorite console generations. And this is a very subjective statements.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I kind of was trying to separate because I play so many games that are older games for some reason for this show, some reason just out of curiosity, that I was like, well, okay, those generations that I like more in hindsight than I did at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to really think this stuff through. Michael came across and had the arrogance to say that, oh, well, it's just me and you are going to have the same pick anyway, so we'll just have to talk about that one generation. And that ticked me off because how dare he think he know me. So, Michael, let's go ahead and start with your pick.
Okay.
And then we will go to my pick, and then we will have maybe like an honorable mention section where we talk about some other solid generations.
That's good. All right. So my pick was the 6th console generation, which is a weird. I always thought that like numbering the generations was weird
because there's so much like where does the Game Boy fall?
Exactly. So like we're specifically talking about console generations.
Yeah,
not like,
I know, but like I was thinking when I was thinking about this, I was thinking about portables at the same time. Like I was trying to lump them together, but they also fall in so many like bridges between console generations.
Yes.
That I was having a hard time with that because there was so many. Like I was thinking particularly about the Game Boy Advance. And I was like, well, that could swing my choice depending on which console generation is tied to that portable generation. But you're right, we're gonna have to just stick with home console generations.
I am going to be talking about like some handhelds just because of their ties to this generation. I chose the 6th console generation, which is the Dreamcast, GameCube, PS2, and Xbox.
Everybody forgets about the Dreamcast.
I will never forget about the Dreamcast. It's a system I haven't owned, but I watch a lot of things on just because I'm so fascinated by. I've had a Dreamcast on my wish list for so long, and the minute those prices start to go down again, I'm going to scoop one up.
I had a couple of people I knew who had them at the time, so I played a pretty good amount of Dreamcast. But I always forget that Dreamcast is technically a part of that same lineup because I feel like it disappears pretty quickly throughout that generation's life cycle. But
it does with the loot. Once the PS2 came out, the Dreamcast was done.
Yeah, and that's what I had. I had a PlayStation 2.
Everyone has a PS2. Had or has.
Yeah, it's. I'm gonna say this. It was very, very high up in my contender list for my favorite generation.
Okay.
I'm gonna I'm not gonna try to undercut your statements because that's what we'll do at the end. But okay, make your pitch for why you think the 6th generation is your favorite generation.
All right, before I get to the games, I want to talk about like the consoles themselves. I have notes here.
Oh yeah, I know.
Extensive. So let's talk about the Dreamcast first. It was a super ambitious last swing for Sega with a small but insanely diverse library of like arcade ports, some like really in-depth like RPGs,
Some of the
like,
best fighting games on console.
Yeah, it was online out of the box. It was the first console to have a LAN port on it, which will lead to like some of the crazy like games that they were doing down the line.
Because like you think about like the PlayStation 2, you had to buy a completely separate connection that goes onto the back of the system. The Xbox had a online capable from the get-go, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. GameCube had none of that.
No. It had one that had a LAN adapter that came later, because I remember like Kirby Air Ride having online when I rented that. Then like the next is the GameCube. It was the last traditional Nintendo console, because when you think about what came next was the Wii, the Wii U, and the Switch. Those are very much doing their own thing. This is like Nintendo's like last play at the traditional console market. And it was like the last time they had a lot of new first-party IPs, like WarioWare, Pikmin, Luigi's Mansion, Eternal Darkness, Animal Crossing. Those were all like new games that they were making. And it was the last time they really took advantage of some IPs, like F-Zero had its last console game on the GameCube. Metroid Prime was a GameCube game.
Yeah.
They had Star Fox games on here. It was crazy what they were doing with like IPs that they really, even to this day, like don't pay attention to. It's weird that Nintendo's giving a lot of attention to Metroid. Like if you go on their Twitter now, it's all hype for Metroid Dread, and I'm like, this is like feels so good that you're finally giving Metroid this attention.
I said this because I think Nick would make this statement also. If you owned a GameCube, you probably, like, per game in your collection, your quality was probably a lot higher than on a PlayStation or an Xbox, because there was not as many great games on the GameCube, but the great ones really do stand out. Like, there's a lot of, like, what is good is very damn good.
And it had a handle. You could carry that thing everywhere.
Yeah, you could throw it, too. Not saying I ever saw anybody do that, but some of those things fly really well.
The PS2 is still to this day the most reliable DVD player. Like, that thing still works, and you can't say that about DVD players that came out around the same time. That's why people bought a PS2.
I mean, that was one of the selling points for when it came out for me, because it was like, oh crap, we needed a DVD player at the house.
I need a game console.
Buy this PlayStation 2, we also get a DVD player, you know? And it was, like I said, it was a legit, very good DVD player.
The one I had was I got a PS2 used on like eBay. My parents got like a game lot. It had a parental. I didn't know how to deactivate it. There was a parental code on like DVDs, but it came with the code attached. So every time like I popped in a DVD that was like PG-13 or higher, I had to enter 7888. So I just remember seeing like the start screen going, "This has been parental locked," and instead of disabling the parental lock, they just hit the button every time.
That's crazy.
I just thought that was really cool. And the PS2 has the largest console library of all time. Steam has more games than the PS2. 3,800 original titles.
And a lot of freaking bangers.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the PlayStation 2...
A lot of duds, too, but man, with a library that huge, you're going to have those.
Dude, I sold off so many of my PlayStation 2 games, and I feel bad that I did it. Mm-hmm. Especially now that I have a show about playing old video games. But, dude, there was so many great bangers, and there was so many great games that you would never have seen coming. Like, I think back on, like, I'm looking over there at some of the PS2 games that I did keep. Like, you remember, like, there was, like, great Lord of the Rings tie-in games for the movies.
Oh, those were fun.
Like, the Two Towers.
And they all had, like, co-op, too.
Yeah,
so you could,
they
like,
were
play
co-op
those
action adventure games. They were good. Like, it's something that... Like, today, the concept of me buying, like, a tie-in game for a movie is not like makes no sense because they're notoriously so bad.
Or they're on like phones now.
Yeah, but
too.
like on the PlayStation 2, there was some like legitimately good tie-in video games to properties.
There were so many licensed games around this time,
shit,
which
yeah.
was both a bad thing, but also when you get like a really good one, those really stand out. Like
Yeah.
the James Bond, everybody talks about GoldenEye, but the James Bond games that came out around this generation were really good too. Like Agent Under Fire, Nightfire is an awesome game with arguably better multiplayer than GoldenEye, just because it took like that GoldenEye concept, added like all the modes, but had like huge levels.
Like I can think of, I'm just going through in my head right now of PlayStation 2 video games that just like are like bangers to this day that if I would pop in today. Like the Medal of Honor series was still very, very good at that time. I think
Yeah.
about Medal of Honor Frontline in particular was really, really a good one. You have Metal Gear kind of in its peak
Prime,
you
yeah.
know, with 2 and 3 on there. You have sports games are kind of in their
You had
peak.
you had sports games that were competing directly with each other because EA didn't have their official NFL contract. So you had the like NFL 2K series,
which was famously undercutting Madden because they came in at a cheaper price point.
Yeah, for the
and
last
had a
time
better-
they were like, "What's going to be half the price?"
I think it was $20.
Yeah.
And it was a better game.
Yes.
We bought Madden. Me and my dad played Madden every year. We bought Madden every year. Then that came out. We bought that naturally because it was like, well, it's $20. I mean,
And it's
it was
great.
amazing. It was a great sports game. 2K was doing that with a lot of its sports games.
And
at
like
the
their
time.
sports game had like a really cool single player mode where you had like the crib where you had like you could like customize with like your favorite team, and that was like your hub
It
for
was
the
also-
story mode. That's nuts.
It was also before sports games could become microtransaction hellholes, where there was no microtransaction, so you got a solid sports game every year. I'm thinking about fighting games at the time on the PlayStation 2 in particular, with like Tekken. Mortal Kombat was kind of in a weird spot.
Oh yeah,
I wouldn't
it was
say it
a
was
transitional
Yeah.
period.
But
Before we got to 9, there were some Deception was like the peak of that era of Mortal Kombat because it had like a really ambitious story mode where you're traveling around with Shujinko and everything. It was kind of like an adventure game, but all the fights were done in like the Mortal Kombat style. So
yeah,
Shaolin Monks, man, Shaolin
Yeah.
Monks was the Mortal Kombat game.
you also buy like this is jumping over to the Xbox more,
Mm-hmm.
but BioWare kicks in when they start coming out with like Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh yeah,
Jade Empire
Mm-hmm.
is in the Xbox era. I know I jumped over to the Xbox for a second there, but
That's
like
fine.
this is a solid generation with a lot of the games that you're sitting around nowadays being like, boy, I wish they would come back with this franchise here or this franchise there. It's because of the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox generation.
Yeah.
And like I said, GameCube is its own little thing off to the side.
Yeah, and about the Xbox itself, it was very much an unexpected success. No one thought Microsoft was going to care. They thought they were going to be like another Philips or another like, 3DO was Philips. They thought they were just going to be like, or Atari coming in, trying their best and go, oh, we tried.
Yeah.
Pull everything, it didn't work out. So Xbox was very much an unexpected success, and when the Dreamcast died, it really expanded on that and became the first it had the first online console infrastructure. Xbox Live was way ahead of its time, and it is tied into. We wouldn't have the online services today if it wasn't for Xbox Live. It created that infrastructure.
It's a spoiler for my conversation, but this was my runner-up for my favorite generation. You were right in that aspect, but I will say that I did not pick the other generation just out of spite. I'll make my defense when I get there, but I don't think also people today might remember or not know, especially if you were too young or you weren't born at the time, which is a weird thing to say, how big of a deal Xbox Live was. For me in particular, a lot of my friends did not do PC gaming.
Mm-hmm.
PC gaming wasn't what it is today. It wasn't I think it's accessible, especially for younger people like teenagers and stuff. When Halo came out, and then Halo 2 in particular, the insanity of the concept of like we're going to play multiplayer online against people all over the world in Halo 2. Like, it was a phenomenon.
It turned gaming into a routine. Like, hey, we're gonna meet up Thursday night at this time and play a couple rounds of Halo.
I can tell you, like, I remember sitting in those lobbies, the color coded for the team lobbies, with your, or when you're playing free for all, having your particular color of your Spartan on your name. It was a freaking massive deal. I played several other multiplayer games at the time that were online multiplayer. Played SOCOM when that was a big deal. The SOCOM series also something I would mention is a great freaking video game. Also a ton of I know I'm jumping around. A ton of also character platforming games like Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper, Jack and Dexter.
Game variety was at its peak.
Yeah, your collection on the PlayStation. I'm trying to think of what my collection was at the time. I had the Ratchet and Clank games. I had SOCOM, which was a tactical, third-person military shooter. One of my favorite video games of all time, Resident Evil 4, which was on the GameCube, and then eventually did come to the PlayStation 2.
It's only on GameCube. It has that banner right there that says only on GameCube.
Yeah, because I had a PlayStation 2 copy, Michael. And my PlayStation 2 copy came with a bunch of extra shit. I remember being so angry. I played Resident Evil 4 on a GameCube test section at the Circuit City when it came out. I remember I was sitting there playing it, and I was like, this game is pretty good. I like what I'm seeing here. And it's the village section. If I remember correctly, it wasn't a demo, because I don't remember a stopping point. I remember getting all the way up to I remember getting past the chainsaw fight.
That was times when you go to a GameStop, they would have the new game just on the kiosk so you could keep playing it. I did that when Smash Brothers Brawl came out. Because I was getting the game. I was there to get the game, but I was just waiting. I was waiting on my parents at the time to come back and pick me up so they could buy it for me. But so I was just playing the store. I was just playing the adventure mode, and I was like, "This is the demo, right?" It's like, "No, it's the full game." So I played for an hour while they did their other shopping. And I was like, "I can't wait to play this when I get home." The same section I just played.
I remember playing all the way up to at least to the chainsaw fight, losing at the chainsaw fight a couple of times, and being dramatically shocked at the concept that it was a one-hit kill and that you get your head chopped off. I was so angry that we couldn't play it because I didn't have a GameCube, and day one that thing hit PlayStation 2, I got my hands on that thing. I acquired it. But yeah, dude, man, it's an amazing generation with amazing games.
Oh yeah. I could start breaking down the game. That's my next session. The games for the big hitters for each console.
Hit me up with some of these big hitters.
All right, starting with the Dreamcast. You had, we joke about Sonic Adventure, but everybody talks about the whale. You hit that you hit the beach level, and the whale follows you, and that blew people's minds at the time. That was just destroying piers and stuff. So I'm not going to touch on that a whole lot. One thing I do want to talk about a bit, Soul Calibur was big because it was the first arcade perfect port. Everything had compromises, but this was the first one that not only was one for one the arcade version, actually it was better than the arcade version in terms of its graphical fidelity, but it had extra modes. It had, I believe this one had online play too. It was the whole package.
Which was a big deal. And Soul Calibur was, to me, at the time, I viewed Soul Calibur as a skill based fighting game. I played Street Fighter and stuff as a kid, but I was never playing it a high level. Mm-hmm. And so people who were playing Soul Calibur and stuff, I was like, man, these guys know what they're doing.
It was the first one. It was the first game because even when I was playing Mortal Kombat, I was just button mashing. Soul Calibur was the one I was trying to get combo strings right and everything. So, not having a Dreamcast, but I'm talking about Soul Calibur 2 and 3.
Yeah,
that era,
which also had the craziness. This is the stuff I miss in video games. It has the craziness of each Soul Calibur 2, I think, or 3. I think it was 3.
2
had a different character depending on which console you bought it on.
Because 3 was PlayStation 2 exclusive.
Yeah. So it had, I think, Spawn
on Xbox.
Heihachi
on PlayStation and Link on the GameCube.
I was so mad I couldn't get. I had the PlayStation 2 version, so I didn't have Spawn. I really liked. I thought Spawn was freaking cool at the time.
Because that was like before Xbox had like its full identity.
Yeah.
Because nowadays it would have been like the Arbiter. If it came out post Halo 2, the Arbiter would have been like that.
Well, then they added like Spartans in Dead or Alive. They had.
Don't remember that.
Yeah, Dead or Alive had Spartans in it, and I thought it was very particularly funny for Dead or Alive. It wasn't just Spartans; it was like Lady Spartans because it's Dead or Alive.
Of course.
You want to talk about some weird freaking video games in that generation?
The Dead or
Like they
Alive.
had like the Dead or Alive series, then they had like the Dead or Alive beach volleyball series, then they had like you had stuff that shit was weird in the PlayStation, Xbox generation, and GameCube generation. Also, like I'm just going through some craziness. Like, dude, like there was solid versions of games like the NBA Street series. Like the Extreme Sports series, like EA had EA Freestyle, which was like their extreme sports. You had the Tony Hawk games.
EA Sports Big was around the time.
Oh yeah, EA Sports Big. I'm so excited! I just slammed an open water bottle down. But yeah, there was some insane games that you don't see a lot of anymore, man.
Next on this list is for the Dreamcast is Shenmue, like something that was another like ahead of its time thing, where you can look back at it now and laugh, but at the time, like Shenmue was, you don't. Arguably to this day, you don't make a game like Shenmue. What are you doing?
For a very good reason.
For a very good reason, but the fact that the fact that you could just go in someone's house, open up the refrigerator, and see stuff in 2000 when this game finally came out was insane.
If you told me, if we went back in time and you were like, hey, here's Shenmue, it's an amazing game. In 2000, I'd be like, yeah, you're right. But the problem
Because you'd be like, you can see inside this guy's fridge.
The problem is I got people in 2021 telling me Shenmue is still a great game, and the only thing I can do is do the jerk-off motion. Because, like, I'm not walking for 12 hours, all right? Those are sequence.
Do you know any sailors?
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. This was almost going to be a clean episode just because I realized I haven't been cursing a bunch, but now Shenmue pops up and fuck Shenmue.
Phantasy Star Online, to this day, has a big following of people that will running private servers for PSO, the first major like console MMO.
I mean, and a legitimate console MMO, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you look at that thing, it's not like a... sometimes you see, like, it's the first of this on console, or the first of this. And it's like, you look back on it, it's like, that barely qualifies. Now, that's a straight-up MMO, man. Like, I give them credit.
And you could play that game offline and still have, like... Because I played it offline and it was still fun. It was, like, set up like a Monster Hunter before Monster Hunter. You go out, you take quests, you go do the quest, and then come back. It was like a grind for loot. It was like a Diablo, essentially. You're going out to, like, dungeons or, like, these, like, different planets. You're level grinding so you can get better gear, so you can go out and take more higher quests. It's that constant loop that just... the endorphin loop that makes you just feel good. Just like, let me get these.
Dude, you've got a hell. Hit me up with some more of this. How about you do a run through of the list real quick?
Gotcha, that'll be better. Jet Set Radio. We already talked about Code Veronica. Skies of Arcadia. Power Stone. Samba de Amigo, which was like the progenitor for the plastic instrument stuff that we'll be talking about later, and just a treasure trove of cult classics. Illbleed, Blue Stinger, Mach X, Cannon Spike, which was a shooter that starred Cammy from Street Fighter, and Choo Choo.
Wait, what?
Yeah, there was a top-down like Contra shooter that starred Cammy from Street Fighter.
What's that name of that game?
Cannon Spike.
Cannon Spike. Eric's gonna be doing some
Research.
gonna be doing some research on this now.
And Choo Choo Rockets.
Hey. Okay, keep hitting me up with some more games here because I'm gonna hold my comments till the end.
Okay, so that's mostly the Dreamcast library. So moving on to the GameCube, you had before the PS2 like ate its lunch in terms of like the series. The Resident Evil series had the Resident Evil Remake, which was exclusive for the GameCube for years until they decided to port it in everything in like 2014. RE0, ports of 2 and 3, and the first edition of Resident Evil 4. You had Smash Bros. Melee, 2 great Zelda games with Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, the Metroid Prime games, Mario Kart Double Dash, Sunshine, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, F-Zero GX, which is still my favorite racing game of all time. Easy. Fantastic game. Luigi's Mansion, the golden age of Mario sports games with Strikers, Mario Baseball, Tennis and Golf, Pikmin, an insane remake of the first Metal Gear Solid, Pokemon Coliseum, which was like their first console Pokemon RPG, and WarioWare. So those are some of the heavy hitters for like the GameCube era. The PS2, like, there's some third-party games on here, but I'm mainly picking stuff that was heavily associated with the PS2. Metal Gear Solids 2 and 3, ATV Off-Road Fury. We forget how we forget how big those games were, because now it's just like the MX games that are going on to this day. But everybody had a copy of Off-Road Fury. Like
ATV games, motocross games, and like
extreme sports games.
If I told you today, Michael, I am so excited for a release of an ATV game, you're going to laugh your fucking head off at me. Like, what the fuck are you playing? But, like, the thing is, you go back and you play these games, and I think one of the reasons is there was no, like, quest for, like, simulation on any of these games. Like, I think about the wrestling games at the time, right? Like, it wasn't about, like, trying to have a realistic experience on riding an ATV or a realistic experience on performing a wrestling match.
Hit these buttons to do a Superman.
Throw people off of the freaking cage, fall off. It was insanity. Same thing with the motocross games. It's like, you want to pick up the bike in the air and do a bench press with it and then land on the bike? Like, cool. It was just a level of, like, video games are fucking cool. Yes. You know? And, like, I don't know why we lost that in some of these genres down the road. I don't know if maybe there was a vocal minority that was like, no, I want to learn like how to properly perform a move on an ATV.
Did you download the it was Games with Gold, the TT Isle of Man a while back? It was a simulation bike racing game that's like based on an actual like race that happens. I was like, cool. A really fast-paced motorcycle game. I made one turn and crashed because I didn't like brake properly. Yeah,
it's what killed racing games. I'm notoriously I don't like racing games, but you want to talk about like in the PlayStation 2 era, like Gran Turismo was a very everyone owned at least one Gran Turismo. I had a PlayStation copy of Gran Turismo when it first came out on PlayStation 1.
Same.
But like, dude. Damn, I forget. There's so many damn good video games.
Persona 3 and 4, Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper, Ratchet and Clank, which everybody had and loved one of those series, but none of the others.
It's Ratchet or Sly for me. I was not a Jak and Daxter guy.
I was a Jak and Daxter guy.
Yeah.
Shadow of the Colossus, which is still one of my favorite games of all time.
We should do that for the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to do that for the show.
Stuntman, which was weird, but just a weird idea.
Oh, yeah, it was like, hey, man, perform stunts for movies. Like, none of this shit would fly today. And, like, that bums me out. Like, and I don't know if maybe in my old age, like, I know a lot of this is nostalgia.
Yeah, exactly.
I was a particular
If we go back and play Stuntman, we're probably going to throw our controller within, like, 3 minutes.
And when we get to my selection of my favorite generation, nostalgia is going to be a big motherfucker.
Oh, right.
Big statement. But, like, I will say this. I think that in somewhere down the line, and I think maybe when games get so expensive to make, you know, the more expensive video games are to make, you got to be more sure thing with your concepts.
We're almost there again with like the return of like THQ Nordic and like Embracer Group funding all these like B projects. Like we're on the cusp. Like Biomutant would be a game though. Like this 6 out of 10 video game would not be a thing like 10 years ago. It would bankrupt the company if they released that thing. But now we live in an age now where that B game is like coming back. And I look at Biomutant a few times going like, there's some, I don't know if this will be good, but there's some ambitious idea here that I want to play when it hits about $20. Yeah. But Final Fantasy X, the Grand Theft Auto trilogy on PS2, 3, Vice City, and San Andreas.
Think about that. We had 3 Grand Theft Autos on that generation.
We didn't even have 1 on this new generation.
No.
We had 5, which was a port. And then the first thing they announced for the PS5 was Grand Theft Auto 5.
I've watched that video of that one particular streamer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the gentleman's name, but he was watching, I guess, a reveal trailer for what Rockstar revealing something for the PlayStation 5, and it's the Rockstar logo and the excitement this man has, only for it to cue another GTA 5 trailer, and just the disappointment and rage. And I watched it and I was just like saying, yeah, you know what, brother, you're right. Right on, man. I felt so, like, I watch that video way too often because it's just like every time it pops up on YouTube, I just go and I go, this is most like realistic active feeling of disappointment I've ever seen on a video.
Kingdom Hearts, Burnout 3, God of War 1 and 2, Devil May Cry, Guitar Hero.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Let's put a pin beside that.
Let's stop so we can talk about plastic instrument games.
Well, no, we're going to talk about plastic instrument games in a second.
Okay.
So let's put a pin there.
Okay, we'll come back. Bully, Champions of Norath, Soul Calibur 3, which is exclusive to the PS2, Silent Hill 2, Resident Evil 4 again was a big game for the PS2.
Dude, it was so damn good.
Okami, which showed that like Nintendo isn't the only company that can make a really good Zelda game.
Yeah.
Like, Okami was basically that, and Tekken 5 was another huge fighting game.
Yeah.
That was like Soul Calibur for the PS2, because it was like, oh yeah, we finally got a Tekken game that was like better than the arcade version. Because 3, you could argue 3 was like very close to it, but 5 on the PS2 was
I know I'm
huge.
supporting your argument here, but this is also because this generation was very close to what I picked was my favorite generation. Let's throw in there the Splinter Cell series. Let's throw in there.
Oh yeah, I have that in a third-party section down here because
okay.
again, there's so many games. I did not forget Splinter Cell.
Okay, go on.
Next, the Xbox, which was like, when you think about it, that was the console for Western RPGs and like games you would only see on the PC. Coach War 1 and 2, Jade Empire, and Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind were games that would not work on a console until the Xbox because it had like PC architecture that kind of bridged the gap in a lot of ways. Crimson Skies, which is on Game Pass now, but sadly not online multiplayer. I mean, I was like, that's the point of Crimson Skies. Like, you could play the single player, but that multiplayer is, of course, Halo 1 and 2. That goes without saying.
What are you going to say there?
Star Wars Republic Commando, Ninja Gaiden, Shenmue 2, which I'm going to bring up because it is the American-made game console that got the sequel to Sega's game.
Which is fucking weird.
That is crazy. So I just wanted to bring it up for that weird fact alone. Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay.
Which is a game that holds up.
Yes.
You want to talk about movie tie-in games?
Chronicles of Riddick.
Like...
It did first-person melee combat effectively.
It did first-person stealth combat. And, dude, you can't do a first-person stealth game today. Well, that was a legitimately well-done first-person stealth game.
I disagree with that statement of how you can't do a good first-person
most
stealth
people
game.
don't.
Yeah.
I mean, for everyone...
Deus Ex, Prey, Dishonored.
Okay, you got a couple of them here and there. All right, but for every one that you just mentioned, there was like 20 of them that were pretty shitty. But okay, whatever. you counted my point efficiently. If this was a video game, it would have popped up counter real quick. But dude, that game is amazing for what it is. I did not even see that movie. I
saw that movie in theaters.
I did not see Chronicles of Riddick or Pitch Black until after I played that game. And then I went and watched the movies. And I was like, these are not as good as this game.
No, of course not.
But what a weird world we lived in for a while there, in which a legitimate big release was Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher's Bay. Like, they did a really nice... Okay, we'll get that now.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Fable, Doom 3, which I think was the only port of Doom 3 on that generation. The fact that it could even run it the Xbox could even run it effectively was crazy.
Something me and you are going to talk about after this show is a pitch for... We own a YouTube channel link now.
Yeah.
And I had an idea, and Doom 3 factored into it.
All right,
one day we will we were talking about this. Doom 3 is a weird fucking game that it exists.
And even though the first-party library was limited on the Xbox, it was the best place to play third-party games because it had, like, HD capability, something that the other consoles didn't really have. I mean, the GameCube had component cables, but those were notoriously hard to find and are, like, a $300 cable to this day. So Xbox had that, like, out of the box.
Also, I remember this was the last generation in which, like, you would run reviews per console.
Yes.
So you would review the PS2 version, the Xbox version, and if there was a GameCube, the GameCube version.
Mm-hmm.
And you never would mix the GameCube and the Xbox version. It was almost always the Xbox version was reviewed separately than the PlayStation and GameCube version because of some of the graphical fidelity, stuff like that, which was fascinating to me because everyone owned a PlayStation too. Mm-hmm. So, like, even though that console was, in my opinion, kind of more powerful and more significant, the name brand power of the PlayStation at this time was just so freaking
What's hot crazy?
strong.
The PlayStation 2, in terms of like raw spectacle, was technically the weakest of the three consoles.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but dude, everyone bought a PlayStation.
Oh yeah, price effectiveness, convenience, and the fact that it was bundled
name value,
with
like
insane.
You owned, like, your parents went to the store and picked you up a PlayStation. It was just like the video game console. It was the last time you saw that was the Nintendo. Where, like, when it was like, it's a Nintendo. You kids are in there playing the Nintendo.
Yeah.
You actually make your name so synonymous with video games that it's no longer like a video game console. You're playing the insert the brand here.
Now for the third-party games.
Oh shit!
Tony Hawk 3 and Tony Hawk's Underground. Prince of Persia: Sands of Time.
You forgot Tony Hawk 4.
Tony Hawk. Well, I thought Underground did the 4 thing better.
You are fucking wrong.
I'm wrong? Okay. This is a conversation for a different day. Because we'll be here all day
I love the Tony
4.
Hawk franchise all the way up to 4.
You did not like Underground?
Underground, okay.
Underground, I understand Underground 2, but Underground 1?
I did not like Underground as much.
Eric Sparrow was like the greatest video game villain of all time. You trusted him and he took your footage.
I fucking loved the Tony Hawk franchise so much. Like,
I still get mad when I hear Eric Sparrow. I'm just like, that guy.
I remember, like, dude, I am a 30-year-old man. I'm 30 years old. Mm-hmm. Tony Hawk is still a hero of mine because of those games.
Absolutely.
Because those games, like, this is what I talk about, man. Those games made me, as a kid, go out and watch skateboarding.
Yeah.
Like Tony Hawk 1, when it came out, I had no clue what skateboarding was.
I watched skateboarding on the Olympics and knew what tricks they were doing because I played like so much Tony Hawk last year, especially.
Dude,
so when a guy did a kickflip to like a tail slide, I was like,
yeah, I was like, I know that.
Saw that. Cool.
The X Games are freaking, like, when the X Games were on during the Tony Hawk era, like, it was a thing that we would talk about as my friend group. Like, did you watch the X Games? Now, I'm never sitting down and watching the X Games. I'm sure they happen. But, like, Tony Hawk made skateboarding. He took it from what was already a kind of a growing underground thing. You know, it was getting popularity. But that video game franchise made people like me, who was a young kid who was not accessing any of that culture at the time, want to, like, experience what was going on in the Tony Hawk world. We all have T-shirts that were like his brand T-shirts. I had Tony Hawk branded T-shirts.
And then people who actually skateboard call you a poser because
I
you
was
like
a
that
fucking
stuff.
poser.
Yeah, exactly.
Hell yeah.
I had World Industry skate shoes and be like, "You poser." I'm like,
damn right I am.
Cool. Who
Damn
cares?
right I am.
Why are you gatekeeping like shoes? Come on, be better than that.
Yeah, well, yeah, but like, yeah, I was a poser when it came to that. So
Yeah.
I couldn't skateboard with a damn.
I bought one and I was like, I could ollie and that was it, and only that would work like 25% of the time.
But dude, it was freaking fun and cool.
Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, Time Splitters, the Splinter Cell series, and Spies vs. Mercs especially.
I just realized that I still dress like a 1990s skateboard kid. I just think about my choice of shorts and T-shirts. I'm like, son of a bitch. I've been posing since 98. Okay, go ahead.
Beyond Good and Evil, so many Star Wars games: Battlefront Episode 3, Jedi Knight and Jedi Academy, Lego Star Wars Bounty Hunter and Racer's Revenge, Spider-Man 2. Another
Very good
licensed game. Great game. Destroy All Humans. Indigo Prophecy. Games. Quality aside, it was games starting to be able to tell more cinematic stories. Indigo Prophecy is a trip. I love that game because that story is nonsensical and so bad. Mercenaries Playground of Destruction, another great game. So that's all like at least from my perspective, all my favorite like heavy hitters of these generations. In terms of, even though I haven't played all of these, like looking at them and go, I can appreciate what that did for games going forward.
I'm gonna go ahead and before we jump into mine, I'm gonna just add a few honorable mentions to your list.
Okay.
Your list is very solid. Your generation was the runner-up to my generation of what I picked, and I have to do a lot of explaining on why I picked it over this generation because this is a great generation of games. This was the beginning of like the greatest hits collections on game consoles.
Yeah.
Where like Sony would re-release games for $20 as a greatest hits edition.
Most of my games I had in my collection were like greatest hits or Player's Choice.
Player's Choice or Xbox
Platinum
had
hits.
platinum hits. But like it's such a concept that today you wouldn't have to do because everything is digital.
You would just mark the price down to $20.
But I will say this. It made a lot of those games a lot more accessible to people. Because it was like, oh, hey, you've heard a lot of good things about God of War. You never played it. Here's a $20 game you can buy.
Or if you buy it used, you can get it for like $15, $10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was also the peak of like,
The used game market.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it was when GameStop was at its peak for me, was the PlayStation 2 era.
Also, rentals were still going on. This is like the
Still
last
valid.
era of rentals.
You still
at this
had
time.
Blockbusters, you still had Blockbuster and stuff. It was a hell of a generation. It was the beginnings of my love. Okay, I'll transition into my conversation.
I still have a section on peripherals and miscellaneous stuff, but you can go ahead.
Go ahead and read your peripherals.
All right, the Dreamcast had the VMU, which was a crazy like Tamagotchi-sized memory card that plugged into the controller, and it had LED stuff like in Resident Evil. It would display your health on there.
Okay.
And just crazy stuff like that, and interconnectivity. They had like actual games that you could play on it with a little D-pad. None of them were like good, and it drained like the clock batteries really, really fast. But you can do that. It had a fishing rod controller that you could use with Soul Calibur, and people do that today and call it Pole Calibur. People play Soul Calibur with fishing because there's motion controller support too. So people like swing it like swords. It is beautiful, and you had the maracas for Samba de Amigo. The GameCube had the first good wireless controller with the Wavebird.
Yes. This was a big deal.
The GBA link cable. It allowed for crazy connectivity between games for like a dual screen mode with like Animal Crossing. You plug it into the system, you didn't have to have a game attached, but it would, through the console, like have a separate screen. Like if you go to an island on Animal Crossing, the island would be on your GBA, and you go and collect like fruit that way and like interact with like a turtle that way. It was really cool. Two Swords Adventures had like a mode where it was 5-player multiplayer, I believe. I might be mistaken there, but like it had elements of that game that could only be played on like the Game Boy Advance. And in Splinter Cell, you could use it as your radar. Like you could just have a peripheral here that was like that's crazy. And it unlocks content in some games. Like that's how you get the Fusion suit in Metroid Prime. You connect it with the save data for Fusion. The Game Boy Advance player made your entire Game Boy library on your TV. I have a player. I got a new GameCube used GameCube recently with that attachment, but it doesn't have the disc.
Oh, damn.
You need the disc. Or there's these things on eBay that have like, it's so weird. This is another generation where you can't like do stuff after this. Someone like, if you have a copy of F-Zero GX like I do, and you have like this like rigged memory card, you can activate the GameCube startup disk data saved on the memory card by going to like a replay section on F-Zero GX, and it'll just boot up the game that way. Someone has the game on like a memory card.
Damn.
Hacked. So I was looking at those going, that's how I can play Game Boy Advance games on my TV. And an ASCII keyboard controller for the GameCube. You might be asking, how does a keyboard controller look on a GameCube? Let me pull up this image just to show Eric here, and look it up at home. This ASCII GameCube. Look at this monstrosity.
That was the thing. Like, didn't the PlayStation 1 also have a keyboard connection?
They had one, yeah, like you could hook up, I believe, a on the PS2 you could hook up a keyboard for like text input.
Because I was watching someone on YouTube play through the Alien Retribution PlayStation game, and he was playing it with mouse and keyboard controls.
That's cool.
And made the argument that was legitimate because there was a keyboard and mouse attachment for the PlayStation.
There was a PlayStation mouse.
So he was like, it's completely legitimate. It's in the settings menu, and it's the only way I can finish this damn fucking video game.
The only Patreon I subscribe to is a channel that covers like weird like games and peripherals like that, and he fell into a pit where he's just like, let's talk about gaming mice, and I'm like, yes, please, I'll donate $1 a month to this content.
Okay, hit me up with some more of these profiles.
PlayStation 2, plastic instruments, the iToy, the multi-tap for 8-player games if you're a madman. You could play SmackDown Shut Your Mouth with 8 players. What? Locally. That's insane. And the HDD upgrade with the network adapter attachment so you could play like Final Fantasy XI online and games like that.
Okay.
And some miscellaneous information here. We talked about licensed games galore. There were more studios today, leading to like larger spectrums of budget. The B game, if you will. There was a lot of experimentation in game design. Like we had the rise of open world games, kind of modernizing console first-person shooters, and like Resident Evil 4, reinventing the third-person shooter. Gears of War changed its control scheme because when they were in the early phases of development, because Resident Evil 4 came out, and they were like, "This is how you do it. Also, this is how you make a
They also ripped
shooter.
off a game called Kill Switch. There was a shooter called Kill Switch, which was a cover-based third-person shooter that had blind fire and all the stuff that Gears did, but like came out for the PlayStation 2, I believe. And if you go back and watch videos of that game, it's straight up Gears of War cover-based shooting. And they don't mention any of that shit in those interviews.
We can all go way back to the Nintendo 64 with Winback. Did that too.
Yeah.
And online console gaming is the way of the future from this point forward. That's my extensive notes on this generation. I took a long time.
It was a hell of a... No, you did a great job, and I love that conversation. The thing that I kept sitting here thinking is what we should have done is just done an in-depth conversation on each generation and have an entire series of Foul Corrupted.
Just talk about each generation. So the Magnavox Odyssey.
Yeah, okay. Mistakes were made. So when I was doing my decision, that was my initial pick because I was like, man, it was a great time for video games. And then I was like, well, going back before that, what about the PlayStation, Nintendo 64? But the problem with those generations is I usually only had one console of the generation. And I became aware of a lot of the other stuff vaguely, but there wasn't... Usually I was pretty happy with my console selection. I was like, so is that whole generation good, or is it just that one console? I was kind of thinking about this a lot. So my choice is going to be a little bit weird, a little bit controversial, I think. Because my generation is the generation after yours. But hear me out.
That makes sense.
Okay, so it's the Xbox 360, it's the PlayStation 3, it's the Wii. And you're going to say, well, the Wii should bring down your choices. Wrong.
No, the Wii...
Wrong.
No.
You're wrong if you said that. Not you, but the listener. The listener who just spoke up in their car saying, wait, the Wii should bring it down. Fucking wrong. Fuck you. Not fuck you, sorry. You have a right to be wrong in your opinion. But for my dramatic statement, yeah, you know what? Fuck you. The Wii has some good stuff. Let's have a conversation.
Tell me to my face Mario Galaxy is a bad video game.
We will fight. No, but here's the reason. A lot of the stuff you just talked about there was amazing beginnings of a lot of these kind of like the Western RPGs that you start seeing pop up on console that usually would have been PC exclusive. You talk about a lot of those peripherals. I'm glad you talked about those. Like the 8-player, playing 8-player on PlayStation 2. The following generation is when that stuff became accessible enough that a lot of people got to experience these moments.
That is fair, because I talked about the online here. I didn't start playing online on console until this generation.
Exactly. That's my big thing. So I was sitting here, I was like, why is it that generation keeps popping up in my head? Why am I still sitting here thinking that's the one that wins? The reason being for me is that generation is when that stuff went mainstream enough that you actually got to experience a lot of these things that I was reading about in video game magazines, like having these 8-player sessions, or we would get together and play like Halo 1, but it was usually like just a 2-controller split screen kind of experience. We didn't have enough of a setup to have a lot of LAN parties and things like that. And when you did have those, it was like a once in a while thing. It was very hard
at a friend's house who had a lot of money.
Yeah, it was very hard to do. None of us had TVs that were easy enough to transport,
My TV at the time for years, even going to the 360, had like wood paneling on the sides.
Oh, I had like a big ass for my 360. When I had my Xbox 360, I had a big ass 32-inch in-depth long. Yeah, it was So when the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and the Wii comes out, the reason why I feel like that's my definitive generation is, one, online is hit the point that everyone had it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just this fringe thing that you had one buddy of yours who had the Xbox Live or had PlayStation Online that could play SOCOM. Everyone had it. So all of us all had our friends. My friends list at the time when I was a teenager was this massively long thing of all these people I knew. And every time you hopped on there, you had like 14, 15 different people you could play with. You could form these massive parties. You had, all this stuff. It was this actual basis for where you could hang out with your friends. It also, for me personally, this is a nostalgia factor. It hit in the perfect time. I was in high school, so it was a perfect way of being integrated into my friendship with these people. A lot of these people I knew. The concept now of having a full friends list on something is insane to me because I'm an adult, don't have time to know that many people. but then it was just this big social thing that everyone had access to now. A lot of the games that you mentioned on the previous generation, I think hit their peaks in this generation. So you're thinking about things like Halo 1, Halo 2. You have Halo 3 comes out that actually has 4-player online co-op through the entire campaign. The multiplayer community is already was great with 2, but 3 is when it fully explodes, and you have Reach that comes out not long after that. You have the rise of the indie game with things like Summer of Arcade, which means a lot more at that time because there was less indie games coming out than it is now. Mm-hmm. But you have games like Super Meat Boy, games like it's hit my head, just lost it. It'll come to me in a second. A lot of those other Summer Arcade games. Limbo, yeah.
Oh, Trials.
Trials, yes. You have games like that are coming out. They are online Xbox Live Arcade that you kind of get to, really force some of these indie games in front of a large group of people that you don't see.
We did an extensive conversation about Bastion. I did that back in 2011.
Yes. That was actually the one I was thinking, which we just did a show on Bastion. The fact that I couldn't remember that. But you have the rise of indie games, which is one of my favorite aspects of video games nowadays is these indie games or smaller team games. You start to see that coming with Xbox Live, and then PlayStation 3 has games that start coming out. There are their own experimental art games. You see games like Flower, things like that come out on the PlayStation 3, which is not stuff you would have seen before. The Wii makes video games something that is generally, for a time period, every house had a console. Because even your grandmother had a freaking Wii, dude. And games say what you want about games like Wii Sports and stuff like that, but those were games that actually introduced people to video games in a massive mainstream way, without being talking down to people. It was a fun, easy to grasp experience that got people together. You talk about the rise of the instruments, right? Mm-hmm. Guitar Hero. Guitar Hero and Guitar Hero 2 are solid video games, right? I think Guitar Hero 1's the only one on the PlayStation 2. Guitar Hero 2, I think, is when you switch over to the next generation.
That was on PS2 and
it was on
Xbox
PS2
360.
also.
You had...
It was in between generations, I guess.
Yes. Even when I played Guitar Hero 3, I played that on the PS2.
Okay, see, I was already on 360 at that point.
I did not get a 360 until 2011.
I was
behind, I was behind on that.
I was so many yards I mowed to get that 360. But you have the rise of Rock Band.
Yes.
Where you actually you have all your buddies in a room. The amount of Guitar Hero 3 and Rock Band that was played in my friend group is insane. Never again would that happen. That I would have 20 people in a room playing through freaking Rock Band. I have sung so many songs badly on a Rock Band that I would never do today. But you also have weird, like, you have DJ Hero that comes out. There's legitimately a fun freaking experience that didn't go as well as I think they thought it
I
would.
played a lot of that at like a Best Buy and a GameStop, and I was like, I don't understand what's going on here, but I can appreciate it.
We acquired a DJ Hero because it was like rhythm games and music games were a huge genre for me at that time.
We played a lot of karaoke games at my house, like Karaoke Revolution on the PS2. Well, that was before
that was on the PS2 and stuff,
Okay.
but like, dude,
that carried over.
yeah.
And stuff.
And also, I would say those games actually did influence a lot of people to pick up instruments.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Nick said it last time we were on a File Corrupted, I think. I said it. We picked up instruments after Guitar Hero 2 and 3, those games. But then Rock Band taught a lot of people, like, hey, I think I want to learn how to play the drums and stuff like that. That kind of made that massive explosion of what was growing on the PlayStation 2 explodes when it hits the next generation with Rock Band and things
I get
like
that, yeah.
The rise of it also, this is like the double-edged sword, right? It's the monkey paw situation. DLC becomes a thing that there's so many positives at this point that you start to see them go sour, but there was, for every like thing like horse armor in Oblivion, which we'll talk about Oblivion in a second, there was also things like with like a Rock Band or something where you would purchase individual songs and song packs. That was a huge thing for us where we're like, oh shit, like every week there's new releases for songs that we can play.
I would get like, I wasn't a Guitar Hero person. I wasn't a Rock Band person. I had Guitar Hero World Tour.
Yeah.
So like I would buy like songs by like Devil Wears Prada and Mr. Brightside. I bought on like using like whatever Wii points I had left over from like Virtual Console. Oh, that's another one to your point. The Virtual Console on Wii, like the first, like the retro explosion that happened because of like Virtual Console and people getting really into like old Nintendo and SNES games.
You start to see a lot of willingness to go backwards, which is weird because also at this time, this is when a lot of these consoles were not backwards compatible, which is kind of the weird thing. Because remember, the PlayStation 3's initial release had backwards compatibility, but then very quickly that was taken out.
But at the same time, like, because when I got my PS3, I got my PS3 late. I got it in 2012.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't know. So I popped in, like, Shadow of the Colossus going, let's see this running on a It was like, sorry, we don't have this. But PS1 game still works on that thing.
Which is weird.
It is weird. I guess because you need a lot less architect. Yeah. Because it's just, like, a CD. So you're just reading a CD at that point. You just have, like, 1 gigabyte of space for the BIOS for the system, and then you're set. Yeah, I guess.
The big thing for me also about this entire generation, while there is a ton of amazing video games that come out at this time, you have a lot of franchises that get started up. Like, you know, you think about games like BioShock, The Last of Us. Right. You have the Batman Arkham games that all come out, which, you know, Arkham Asylum and Arkham City were huge releases and I think are still amazing video games. You have the kind of rise of the multiplayer shooter genre with
Mass Effect.
You have I was about to get to RPGs
sorry.
and say, no, you're right, but like the Call of Duty 4s of the world that come out that set the world on fire. You have the last of like the massive like midnight releases are happening at this time. Like I remember going to stand outside in the freaking cold at GameStop at midnight to get your copies of Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare 2, or the Halo 3s of the world. BioShock, freaking Assassin's Creed, like games that were not even like known franchises at the time. I remember still having these like massive excitements around them where people would go out and buy them on midnight. Like the concept of going out and buying like an Assassin's Creed game today is not going to happen because we have a very like easy to download on your console, or you can just pre-download the thing and have it sitting there at midnight. Have it sent to your house day and date. Yeah, I mean, you don't have that kind of it's the last bastions of that super hype, right? I think Sony takes kind of a back step in this generation for a long time, but then they kind of come on strong at the end. When you look at sales data, worldwide, the PS3 barely outsold the Xbox 360. You could almost call it a tie at that point. But the 360 for a long time was the dominant console, especially here in the US, because of
the like online infrastructure and the fact that like got out a year earlier and was at like a cheaper, more conservative price point. So yeah, and then it wasn't until much later when the PS3 got its like big exclusives like The Last of Us and stuff like that came out near like the end of the generation, because that's when I got my PS3, and I had a great time like playing like all the stuff that I needed to play, because all that stuff was like really cheap at that point.
I mean, they also this PlayStation 3, I think it still has an amazing lineup of games there, because you have The Last of Us, you have Metal Gear Solid 4, which is the last like traditional great Metal Gear Solid. I will go to bat for Metal Gear Solid 5, but 4 is the last like traditional great Metal Gear Solid game. You have God of War kind of does its massive like triumphant end for what God of War used to be,
and then
just so it
Ascension with the prequel.
Exactly. So like there isn't like. But, like, you have God of War 3 that comes out there that's a solid fucking God of War game. I remember, like, some of the big moments there of, like, just the massive scale of some of those battles when it pours out to see that you're fighting along top of a giant climbing a mountain. Like, there was some really solid stuff there. Microsoft, I think, does kind of dominate the generation just because their online platform was so damn good. But also, you have the beginnings of, like, things like, I had a hard drive for the first time. I didn't have memory cards. Like, how big of a deal that was to be able to sit and, like, no longer be fiddling with what's on your memory card, what's there, easy downloads. Like, the hardware finally got to the point that as a console player, I was able to just have access to a lot more stuff and a lot less stress. A lot less of the things that were just theoretical that, I had to buy peripherals to have. It just came packed in with the system. I feel like that generation is when things like the modern day video gaming kind of ward and landscape is when it actually kicks in. Like the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox generation is like the last of like the traditional what games were. The next generation is when things start to actually lay the path of what things will become. And like I said, dude, those amazing franchises that start off in this generation that sadly a lot of them have kind of been beaten down into the dirt by just repeating. You're on like your 12th Assassin's Creeds, you're on your like 45th Call of Duties, but like at the time those things were still fresh and they were still new and they were still exciting. And if you kind of remove what history has done to some of these franchises, it still was amazing that what these things were doing at the time. And like to me, that console generation is less of a solo experience. It was more when video games became a big social thing.
Exactly.
And man, this is just great stuff there. That's why I picked that one. And like I would say that there's probably per game capita more like amazing games on your generation you were talking about for sure. I think per experience capita, the next generation is when I really started getting into like these are experiences I've never had before with a video game.
Yeah, I agree completely because the reason I'm like so much more attached to my generation is because that ended up sticking with it longer, because the first console I got for that generation was the Wii, and I didn't get a 360 until I had my first like summer job, and then bought with my own money because I really wanted to play LA Noire.
Yeah.
That was the game I bought the next generation console. Well, that current generation console was for LA Noire, and that generation had been going on for years at that point. So that got me to like really fall in love with video games again, where I was just constantly I had a huge plethora of game experiences that people had for years that I was experiencing for the first time.
I think also, you talk about games like LA Noire. I might throw Heavy Rain out there. Like these are like, it's a good game. Is a quotation marks,
quote unquote. Yeah, it's a game that functions.
Yes, but like there was a ton of stuff like that video games were changing into experiences that I have never played before. Like I remember the LA Noire, like the concept like LA Noire was a game that I never played something like that before. You can look back and you can find examples of it. It's like, well, it's got a lot of like old school adventure game in it, but
with like the shooting of GTA 4.
yeah, but it was the like the heavy level of detail and like the way that it was presented. It wasn't like a
Presentation reached like an all-time like high at this point.
For a game like that, you never saw a game with that kind of level of detail that was like an adventure game before. Like I said, talking about small studio stuff, you start to see the episodic content stuff take off with Telltale, where you see like the
Walking Dead.
Life is Strange,
Wolf Among Us.
That's a great freaking video game. You talk about stuff like multiplayer becoming something that's more than just a thing that you and your buddies experience, but like I think about things like Battlefield when it actually comes to console. It was the first time you actually had a PC equivalent Battlefield game. The first time you had multiplayer games where you actually felt like you wasn't getting gypped on the console. It was a PC equivalent, and sometimes depending on the game was better than the PC version. You have deals.
Oh yeah, like with Call of Duty, like there was.
Oh yeah,
it had dedicated servers, and the PC was just like delay based, like netcode or something.
Yeah.
Which did not.
You had a lot of weird stuff that came out at the time. I think about games like the Orange Box. That brought.
Yeah.
Not only did it bring Half-Life 2 to console, but it also brought Team Fortress 2, brought Portal to console. All the episodes of Half-Life 2, Episode 1 and Episode 2 was brought there. The Episode 2, the same release as PC. Like that stuff is growing and changing. You're seeing a lot of
the bridge between like PC and consoles kind of like
it gets
crossed over at that point. I mean, you're still gonna have like the PC is still gonna be the best place to play any video game, and that's just
the nature of the business. Yeah. But I think that you're seeing that gap gets a lot shrunk.
And the gap between like Japanese and American games like shrinks too. Like there's like there were like day and date releases with the Japan version, which even on like the PS2 wasn't something that really happened. It was always like they got it a year before us.
Yeah, exactly. You start to see kind of like the world shrink around video games to be more. You're all accessing stuff at the same time.
And Japan in that generation was kind of in a weird spot. Like, if you look at they did not really know what to do with the HD era. Like, Japanese RPGs were still, like, long in the tooth, and, like, people just couldn't stomach, like, a 14-hour tutorial anymore in, like, the HD era. And you also had, like, stuff with, like, Capcom, not, like, Resident Evil 6, and, well, 5 was apparently, it's not there yet, but was, like, a really good, like, co-op shooter.
It was fine. It wasn't something to write home about.
Yeah, but also like their handling of like DLC on disc with Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and like having like multiple like iterations of that.
Yeah.
So like you had a lot of Japanese companies kind of like losing their way at the time. They would eventually find their way back in the next generation, but
I would say that's one of the weakest spots of the generation is Japanese companies being very confused by the jump to HD. I would say that it's also though the rise of like things like Western RPGs on console.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You talk about
Oblivion,
Fallouts, Skyrim, which I know is on everything, but Skyrim was a big deal at the time. You have the Obsidian kind of level of RPGs start to be like, for every Fallout 3, you also have New Vegas. You have games like Alpha Protocol that are not good games, but crazy that they exist.
I will defend Alpha Protocol.
You have BioWare kind of coming into their peak with the Mass Effect trilogy. The concept of games having saves that go through multiple games, where your actions in game 1 also affect actions in game 3. You have the kind of
Deus Ex coming back with Human Revolution.
Deus Ex, yeah,
love that game.
Which I think also recently has kind of seen like a rebirth because people played Cyberpunk and went back and they're like, wait, Deus Ex was actually really damn good. It was kind of better than this Cyberpunk. Oh. You also have, like, speaking of CD Projekt Red, you have Witcher 2, which is an underrated, very good game that's underrated because it gets overlooked and overshadowed by Witcher 3.
That 360 version that they did, I bought day and date because they were hyping it so much about like this is RP. You hear so much about like the PC version having a really good RPG, and then I watched like developer interviews where they're like, the 360 version is going to be great. I bought that day and date, and I'm like, yeah, this is a really good 360 port of this game.
It's completely different too than the Witcher 3 ever was. It's
a lot more linear. Like it's hub based.
It's hub based. It's not as it's story wise. It's a smaller story. But it's a little bit more title.
Geralt trying to clear his innocence.
Yeah. It's a good. Witcher 2 is a great game.
Oh
it's a great game. I really just feel like I said, I don't think you can argue that the previous generation didn't have more in number of great games, but I think the experiences around video games start to change in that next generation. And that's when I was like, for me, it was the thing that I just couldn't get over. The concept that like online is now an accessible thing that all of us have, and we're all playing games together. You do have kind of like the big flare up of music games, and it does die down very quickly after the Rock Band. And I would say come Rock Band 2, things are already starting to go on the downward trend. But for me, the experiences that generation brought is why it's my favorite generation.
You know what my first online gaming experience was?
What?
Smash Brothers Brawl.
Which is pretty shocking, but it's actually a very good game.
It's a very good game, but the online was crap.
Well, like, the Wii, while, the Wii doesn't have as many great quote-unquote games.
A lot of shovelware.
It's got a lot of shovelware, but Nintendo still did find ways to get some good stuff out on that thing.
That's just the Nintendo is always consistently the only one who can squeeze every bit of brilliance out of their consoles. They've always been that way. Like, the Nintendo games always like are the most beautiful looking on the system. Like, even like the games they release on the Switch, the Nintendo wise, look like they can compete with like current gen in terms of like graphical fidelity. And then you get like a port of like a 360 game on it from like another developer, and you're like, this is not looking good at all.
It's also just mentioned that there were several weird games that hit up on the Wii. Like, we just played one not long ago with No More Heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was some stuff that was still coming out there first that was crazy, kind of off-the-wall games that kind of got buried by a lot of that shovelware. But
you didn't know what the hits were going to be. I haven't played it, but I heard a lot of people talk about, like, Zack and Wiki.
Yeah, and stuff like that. Yeah, I feel like there was still a lot. I think you would be surprised if you look at, like, a full list of what came out on the Wii, that how many good games were there. It was just buried by the fact that it was getting like 150 different.
Everyone's soured on that generation by the end of it. I feel like not the generation. No, not the generation. The Wii.
Oh
specifically.
Yes. No, I think Nintendo's lack of quality control on that console probably hurt it. They, like I said, there was a lot of stuff that was just being.
You look at their eShop, it's kind of in the same situation right now where you're like, where's the good stuff here?
Yeah, Nintendo has an issue with quality control, which is funny, which is hilarious because they're the people who had the Nintendo seal of quality.
Back in the day, they were all quality control. Our next game we're going to be talking about is a game that like didn't meet the console because of their like strict quality control standards.
Yeah, like I said, I think my entire argument about this generation, I'm wrapping up now, is more of the experiences that generation brought compared to the games themselves.
I get that completely.
And like, it was when that generation came around is when you start seeing people who are sticking with games for longer than just a couple of weeks. You have people who just fall in love with a particular game for a long period of time, which is both a double-edged sword because you're like, hey, you should experience more stuff than just this one game. But it also shows that games got to the point where you could just live in a world for 100-some hours, or just make a game almost like a sport to you with like a multiplayer game or whatever. It's a lot of great stuff, man. And like I said, the biggest thing also kept popping in my head was it made indie games accessible to people that were not actually usually going to be able to find those kind of games.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's both of those generations are fucking amazing.
Oh yeah.
And here's the kicker here. There is no right and wrong. That's just opinion.
What?
So somewhere out there, you're going to make an argument that like the Atari was the greatest generation, and you. Could,
I'd like to hear that argument.
I would love to hear that argument, but yeah, it's fascinating, man. It's fascinating.
Someone older than me would argue about the Super Nintendo and the Genesis and have really, really good points there, and I'd be like, yeah, you sound like you're probably right, because there's no right or wrong for us.
I actually thought about it. I looked at the list of like Super Nintendo releases. And I was like, man, there was a lot of amazing freaking video games.
Nintendo should look at that list of
Yeah,
great
they
Super
really
Nintendo
should.
games.
But also, Genesis had a ton of great stuff.
I still have my Genesis.
Hey, yeah.
That's a good console.
It's a good console. Yeah. So in closing, those are two great generations. I love to talk more about do like an in breakthrough of some of these
Personal video game stories.
It's
yeah.
fascinating. You want to talk about what we're doing next?
Let's talk about what we're doing next.
Let's kind of lay a little bit of a roadmap out here. Next episode of State of the Save will be on Night Trap. You know, the thing we're going to do. We'll be playing through Night Trap and having a conversation about it. It's a one-shot. Then things are going to get a little bit weird. I'm not entirely sure how things are going to go at this point. I have a kid coming. I have my second kid being born. So I'm going to probably be off the regular show for a little while at least, maybe a couple of weeks. Michael is going to take the reins there. He's got some cool guests lined up that I'm really excited about. And he's going to be kind of doing some of the shows. I might be on those shows. I don't know. But there will be shows. But Michael's going to be taking the lead for a few weeks.
If you want to hop on, we can have you hop on. But
I might be doing reports from the parent front. 10-minute clips of Eric being like,
I'm preparing stuff right now. Here's my notes on this game.
Yes.
read this on the show.
Yeah. But I am excited because Michael's got some cool guests lined up. And he's got some cool stuff lined up. So show's going to be a little bit weird for a little while. Just while we do that transition. But it's going to be I think it's going to be kind of one of the more exciting parts of the show, because I think the show's at its best when it's a wild card and you don't know what you're getting. And also I'm excited to have some more guests on here. And I know, like I said, Michael's going to do a great job doing the hosting stuff. And like I said, who knows, I might still be on some. Oh, yeah. But, that's kind of your roadmap for what's coming. Obviously, we'll probably be doing some file corrupteds, things like that in between there. Then we have, during the fall, I got some stuff I'm going to talk to Michael about. I got some ideas for some stuff coming up that I want to do. And then we'll see. It's going to be a weird fall into winter, but I think that's the best time for this show, because it's when we're all locked inside because it's cold as shit and we got to play some video games. But as always, thank you guys. You can hit us up on social media at State of the Save, at Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. You can also send in your emails to stateofthesave@gmail.com. We love to read those. Also, continue to send in game suggestions. Had some people ask us about particular games. Keep doing that. Also, the Sonic Adventures 2 thing is a go. We will be doing it. It will probably happen when I come back from the couple weeks off with the baby stuff. Because I thought about it. I was like, ooh, they can do where I'm going. But that kind of breaks the spirit of the competition. So I will be back to do those Sonic Adventure 2 shows. As always, thank you, and stay safe out there and have a good one.